Hey, everybody. Thanks for checking into our latest TDR Straight to Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales, live from D.C. We are here at Congress here today. Good to see you. Copy again of lobbyist Don Murphy. How are things?
Things are continuing as they always do.
I know.
Slow, but I think we're making progress.
Yeah, walking outside, a little bit of wind, and it took off our microphone cover. But hey, we're building content. That's all that matters. But we've learned a lot over these last couple of days here in Washington, and we've had a couple of clips that went out on Twitter. But the big thing that we have learned, a lot of speculation, basically the Republicans stating that or I should say a lot of the senators that we spoke to yesterday were stating that a lot of this stalling with safe banking belongs to actually the House and a lot of the Republicans. But we have learned that's far from the truth. You want to maybe elaborate off of that?
Well, the truth is the House has passed this 7 times.
Correct.
Certainly it was under Democrat control. But we have the votes in the House to pass safe banking. The idea that the Senate would use the House as an excuse for not moving it to the floor is just unfortunate scapegoating, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the big thing that we wanted to learn too is that we don't need a lot of votes. We need a vote, and that's it. And right now, I think what we're trying to explain to a lot of people too here is that, look, there's a lot of co-sponsors to this right now, but there's just a lot of senators that want to make this fully buster-proof and put their name on the line. But all there needs to be is one more vote. So if you had a conversation or had a conversation with someone like Dave Joyce, what do you think some of the words that you would say to him as far as the progress that's being made and how we can possibly get through to a senator to endorse this particular bill to get it passed eventually?
Well, the truth is Dave Joyce has been excellent. He's the sponsor here in the House. The problem is in the Senate. We don't need any more. Look, if we had an extra co-sponsor, that wouldn't mean we'd have an extra vote, right? Because that person is going to vote yes anyway. But that person is also not going to filibuster, even though they're not on as a co-sponsor. We have a dozen or so Republicans who have said to me, and some have said to you, that they are in support of safe banking and they will support it when it comes to the floor. They haven't put their name on it for a number of reasons, one of which is, what is the benefit to them to get mixed up with their local law enforcement or anyone over a bill that may or may not come to the floor? Remember, Chuck Schumer determines what gets a vote. And right now, he's the one holding this up. The reason, I think we've got some ideas to why.
Yeah.
You talked to at least one senator who is not happy. And I think Senator Schumer is giving cover for one of his Democrats.
Yeah, my conversation yesterday with Senator Elizabeth Warren basically stating that it is the House's fault. They need the Republicans to be in line and they need more votes basically to get in. I actually followed up and we'll have more of that information with some of the content we're producing actually tomorrow. But the reality is that there are enough votes by the House side, the Republican side. So really this stems, and even when you spoke to Senator Steve Daines, from like, could somebody like Mitch McConnell basically block this vote? He's just like, no, it's just like he can't legally do something like that right now. So if that is the case, and that is accurate information, this is an opinion, this isn't speculation, these are accurate facts as to how the judicial system and like the political arena actually works. This now falls into Chuck Schumer. So where's Chuck?
Well, Chuck is defending, I think, one of his members in the Senate, right?
And who?
Well, I think Senator Warnock gave you a pretty good indication of where he is on this.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. Look, we have very small cannabis businesses that are dying while they wait for safe banking, while they wait for funding. And they've got to jump through all these hoops. And we have one of them here that I think you're going to meet with soon and talk to. She's probably not going to make it because the government has put so many hurdles in her way.
Well, progress as we're trying to make, there's actually indeed an entrepreneur behind the scenes right now that has a dispensary in the state of New Jersey. He's invested over $1.3 million, a military veteran as well. But here's the thing that I've learned since the last time we were here in Washington. I always was thinking that Cory Booker was trying to avoid this with the whole social equity play. He would lie down to make sure that this is implemented before he passes anything about SAFE. That narrative has since changed because he's received a lot of pressure from entrepreneurs in his home state of New Jersey, which AKA has a cannabis program. So Cory's kind of changed his stance on this, but the new Cory Booker, from my conversation yesterday, happens to be Senator Warnock, who basically is in a state of Georgia that does not have a cannabis program. So clearly from my encounter there's a couple things I did ask him, but he is clear that he thinks that if SAFE were to pass, we're going to see wealthy cannabis investors benefit and benefit only.
Well, they will benefit perhaps, but more small businesses will benefit, right? I mean, that is what we need to keep our eye on. Many of these folks just aren't going to make it, and they're not going to make it, and then guys like Warnock won't have anyone to blame but themselves. Now he's in Georgia. He doesn't have cannabis businesses like Cory Booker does that are gnatting in his ear, and maybe some of those folks need to explain to Senator Warnock why this is important, sort of more globally and not so much just based on his state.
What's your dialogue or feedback been about Amendment 3? And, with Donald Trump, obviously, we've been asking that question to a number of different congressmen and women and senators about possibly the Republican side stealing this, initiative with his endorsement. But what's been some of the conversations that you've had based on his latest words and some of the feedback the GOP is kind of looking at this possibly differently?
Well, they do think Trump putting his thumb on the scale is going to make a difference. It's 3 or 4 points one way or the other. And if it passes by just a very small margin, it will be largely due to him. They know what he's done. They have not said, hey, because Trump's on, I'm going to get on. They would never say that. But they've been holding their cards close to the vest for now. And maybe somebody in Florida, maybe a constituent will start to ask that question.
Donald Trump is a transactional person, entrepreneur, and as a president as well. Do you believe him when he comes out and says that he supports Schedule 3, SAFE, and Amendment 3?
I absolutely believe him, because this isn't something that he is saying just because it's election time, right? He has said this in 2020 and 2016 on the campaign trail, running against Republicans in a primary. He came out in favor of this before he won the nomination. So this isn't something that is transactional, in my opinion. This is something he actually believes in, and was sort of prodded to answer a question. He didn't sort of come out with it right away. It sort of was something that the media asked in some form. But I'm real happy that he's on our side on this.
So what's your response if somebody says he's desperate, needs votes right now, and this is what he's doing? Is there any truth to any of that?
I don't think he's desperate at all.
No,
I think if you look at the polling, he is significantly ahead of his opposition compared to where he was in 2020 and 2016. He was down by 8 and 10 points in both of those elections. And in these polls now, he is even or ahead in some of these states. I'd rather be him than her.
Yeah. A lot of stuff that we've learned, at least I have the last 36 hours, that's for sure here. But, let's face it, we're heading into an election. And as we all know, there's a lot more bigger priority things to be basically worrying about. But then I asked the question and pushed back a little bit more that could this be retabled during lame duck session? So in the event, let's say the Republicans were to control both the House and the Senate, what does that then present as far as SAFE passing during lame duck session?
I would think that Chuck Schumer would want to deliver something of progress, some bit of progress, and that would be safe banking in the lame duck, for no other reason to say we did this and not wait for Republicans to make it.
Yeah, fair points to say the least. But lots that we've learned. We talked about Amendment 3. We talked about obviously rescheduling. Rescheduling, I'm hearing rumors too that a lot of things up in the air right now. Like, yes, confidence that rescheduling will take place, but I think a lot of us want to know as far as the timeline is concerned. And some of the feedback I'm hearing is that if there is a new administration involved, and some of the political play and legality standpoint, as far as lawsuits and stuff like that potentially could happen in the new year, that I asked the question because we've been talking about this. Anthony and I have it on the live stream that we could see rescheduling happen at some point this time next year. And the feedback is that's aggressive, that this is going to take well over a year. Do you believe that?
I expect everything with government takes longer than you think. So a year from now would not surprise me. I also don't think that the Trump administration, a future Trump administration, would try to squash any effort to move marijuana forward. I think he's fully on board. And so that is good news for us as far as Schedule 3 goes.
So once there is a new administration in, is there any risk of rescheduling to happen? Like, you do believe that Donald Trump, if he were to be elected, would follow through and the wheels are already in motion?
I absolutely think that. And the question is, who would he appoint as an attorney general? And that's, goes back to the Jeff Sessions thing, right? Based on the Jeff Sessions blowback when he repealed the Clone Memo, I don't think any attorney general that Donald Trump nominates is going to have any problem with Schedule 3. And I actually think there'll be Republicans and certainly Democrats in the Senate when he goes for a confirmation hearing that will bring that issue up.
Yeah. Also had a great conversation. What's the senator's name I spoke to again from New York?
Gillibrand.
Gillibrand. Great conversation with her. But they are really putting their best foot forward to clean up the actual state and, more importantly, even the city of Manhattan. But interesting feedback I received from her and how this is a major priority for them to get this state corrected, and how she believes still that this could be the biggest cannabis market in the U.S.
Yeah, the good news is they clearly know what's going on in New York with respect to cannabis. This is not something that they are unaware of, and it really is moved to a front burner for them, even though members of the Senate really don't have a lot of say in this, but they understand that this is a problem.
Yeah. So that was a lot of feedback we received from the Senate yesterday. Any feedback of people you met with here today, and some interesting, like, I don't want to say this is stuff that's off the record, but any takeaways that you get from being here today and some of the stuff that you feel is building momentum towards, say, getting an actual floor vote?
Well, I will say this whole Trump approval of Measure 3, Schedule 3, and safe banking has helped give cover to Republicans who might otherwise not want to step out on the issue. So that's great.
So you think this has definitely helped a lot? The GOP is definitely looking at this differently.
Absolutely. I mean, I hate to say that a lot of members here take their direction from Trump, but it's pretty obvious that they do. And in this case, I think that's going to be the situation.
You surprised at all that Kamala Harris and her administration is not responding in any kind of way right now?
No, I'm not surprised, because what has she got to say? Like, what exactly has she done? And even if you want to give her credit for Schedule 3, which is medical, what Trump is doing in Florida is supporting Amendment 3, which is kind of descheduled, right? He's for adult use. She's only for medical. Until she says something different, he's got her beat on that issue.
Yeah, but in fairness, when I did speak to Elizabeth Warren, because you could say they haven't done it for 4 years, Donald Trump didn't really do anything for the cannabis space for the 4 years. But some of the guests that we've had on since he's come out and endorsed it, it's the maturity of the industry, and therefore the story's been told a lot more since that time that he was part of the administration. So in a lot of ways, let's all face it, here in the cannabis space, we were very, very happy and optimistic about the Democrats basically controlling the Senate 4 years ago. However, that's fallen on closed doors. But I think in a lot of ways, getting bipartisan support. But on one side, you're basically saying, we just need one more vote. This falls on the shoulders of Chuck Schumer. And on the other side, you're saying this is all the House's fault. And they're at a standstill right now. So if you are involved, whether you're an executive of a company, an entrepreneur, or investor in this space, how does this change?
It gets changed over the long term. Look, I am not an investor in this space at all, right? So I'm not playing the short game. I'm not playing the long game. But you have to look at what's happened in the last 4 years, 8 years, even 20 years, and say, we're not going back, right? This is not going to get undone by the federal government or state governments. I think this is a pretty good investment to be in from an equity position. Small investors in the retail space, I would be concerned about getting involved at that level. But as far as equity in the markets, it's probably a good long-term play.
Yeah. Well, we should nickname you GPS here in Washington, because you know where to go, where to get in front of all these people all the time. So you got us in front of some pretty big guests, but we got to run because we're trying to get through to co-sponsor Dave Joyce, Congressman Dave Joyce, here this afternoon at 2:00. So we want to be at his office, get some more questions and get some more ideas and feedbacks as to like how this dialogue's moving forward. But great content we're going to have out tomorrow afternoon. So make sure to log on at 4:00. We'll have a fully produced video featuring Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warnock, among others, that we basically had some really interesting conversations. Some didn't even respond, including Tim Scott. I went up to him and asked him, hey, look, Donald Trump has endorsed cannabis. How do you view it now? Please reach out to my media team and I'll set up an interview, and he wanted to avoid me at all costs. But look, I'm trying to bring awareness. What was the one, Senator Kennedy, when I was in a scrum with CNN and Fox, and I asked him, I said, you know, look, you're on the banking committee. Why did you vote against SAFE? And he was like, excuse me, what is that? And I was just like, safe banking. I'm sorry, what is that? And I said, cannabis. Oh, cannabis, because I don't support it. And I was into the room. But anyways, I'm trying, but appreciate
at least it was an answer, direct answer.
Yeah. Anyways, appreciate obviously the support. I'm sure everybody on behalf of not only our podcast, but the Cannabis community, appreciates you obviously for pushing the narrative forward. But listen, appreciate it. Leave some comments below. Make sure to subscribe to our Baked In newsletter. Anthony, myself, and Guap, who's actually filming behind me right now, will be back on the live stream at 11 a.m. for a quick recap on Friday morning of this week's events in Washington, as well. Full video interview features tomorrow afternoon, 4 o'clock on our YouTube channel. Got to run. Got to go speak to Congressman Joyce. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we'll check you later this week. Thanks, everyone.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching our latest podcast. Lots of momentum building. You guys getting all excited? Leave comments below. Again, we want to take this viral. Smash that like button and make sure to click on that bell for all notifications as we start to bring on bigger and bigger guests. Don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, the Baked In newsletter, by logging on to thedalesreport.com. And we want to take this viral, as I said, and make this community grow. So make sure to subscribe on that channel because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.